It started with the faint buzz of a chainsaw early one Saturday morning. I groggily opened the curtains and immediately wished I hadn't. Karen, the neighborhood's self-proclaimed HOA enforcer, was standing on my property, wielding a chainsaw like a maniacal gardener, cutting through my fence. She wasn't doing routine maintenance or clearing dead branches. No, she had apparently decided that access to her imaginary inspection route justified demolishing part of my property. I ran outside, still half asleep, yelling, "Karen, what on earth are you doing?" She didn't even pause. "I need to inspect your yard. This fence is encroaching on HOA easements," she said, buzzing away like she was performing some righteous duty ordained by the gods of suburban order. I stared in disbelief. The fence was entirely on my property. I had the deed, the survey, and a legal map to prove it. Neighbors began peeking out their windows, already used to Karen's antics, and whispered warnings. But she was relentless, trimming the top rail with a zeal that made me question whether she thought she was enforcing the law or auditioning for an action movie. By the time the police were called and she was finally escorted off my property, half of my fence was gone, sawdust everywhere, and Karen was screaming about property rights and community standards. It was infuriating, but it also gave me an idea. Weeks later, I learned that Karen had a small plot of land adjacent to her house that she had been trying to get everyone else to comply with through various HOA tactics. It was scheduled for auction because of unpaid taxes, and, almost comically, no one else was bidding. That's when I decided to strike back, not with confrontation but with strategy. I attended the auction, quietly observing the proceedings while keeping a calm exterior. When the time came, I placed a bid, outmaneuvering the other attendees and securing the property right next to Karen's house. I now owned the strip of land she had been obsessively policing, the same area she had been trying to control indirectly through intimidation. The day I closed on the property, I couldn't resist a little flair. I erected a tasteful sign, "Private property, no HOA access." It was subtle, elegant, and entirely legal. Karen noticed immediately, storming to her window, clutching her clipboard, and flailing her arms like a cartoon villain. The neighbors, having witnessed the entire chain of events, quietly cheered from their porches. I didn't stop there. I made sure the fence along her property line was reinforced, tall, and clearly marked. Every time she tried to assert authority over the imaginary easement she once claimed, she now faced a solid, impenetrable barrier. She could rant, scold, or call the HOA board, but legally she had no access, none whatsoever. Karen's attempts to regain control became increasingly desperate. She filed complaints, sent passive-aggressive letters, and even tried to enlist sympathetic neighbors. Every time, I calmly reminded her of property law, easements, and local ordinances. It was like watching a toddler trying to argue with a judge. Eventually, she gave up. The audacity of her chainsaw stunt became the punchline of block parties, HOA meetings, and neighborhood gossip. I didn't just reclaim my fence. I transformed the situation into a lasting victory that required no violence, just careful planning, timing, and a touch of poetic justice. Now, whenever I look at the fence, I can't help but smile. It's not just a barrier against HOA Karen. It's a monument to patience, strategy, and knowing exactly when to turn someone else's overreach into an opportunity. And as for Karen, she's still pacing her porch, clipboard in hand, muttering about community standards, while the neighbors quietly enjoy the satisfaction of watching her reign thwarted, one property line at a time.